Hello, Mr. Holmes. Today I am going to be teaching you a problem about hypothesis testing. Here we have a problem. Nationally, the proportion of red cars on the road is 0.12. A statistically minded fan of the Philadelphia Phillies, whose team color is red, wonders if fans who park at Citizens Bank Park, the Phillies' home field, are more likely to drive red cars. One day, during a home game, he takes a simple random sample of 210 cars parked in the lot while a game is being played and counts 35 red cars. There are 21,000 parking spaces. Is this convincing evidence that Phillies fans prefer red cars more than the general population? Support your conclusion with a test of significance. All right, well, let's go back to our problem and figure out what type of test this is, first of all. So we can clearly see here that this is proportion, so it's not mean or anything, so we know that it's going to be P. So we are going to start by writing our null hypothesis, and we know that our alternative hypothesis is also going to be P. And nationally, the proportion of red cars on the road is 0.12, so that is our null hypothesis. 0.12. Now let's look for alternative. Well, for our alternative, we have to figure out what he is trying to find, and he's saying that it's more likely to drive red cars. That is his theory, so we are going to say that it is greater than 0.12. Now that we have that, let's gather all of our data. So we know that P is equal to 0.12, and now we have to find X, which is 35, and our total sample space, which is 210. Now, with this data, we have to find P hat as our next step so we can perform a test of significance. So to find P hat, we have to use the formula X over N. So for P hat, we are going to say 35 over 210. This is where we take our calculator. 35 divided by 210, which is equal to 1.166667. So we are going to round that off to 0.16667, just like that. Okay? Now, for our next step, we have to do our actual test. So we are going to use Z is equal to P hat minus P over the square root of P times Q all over N. Okay, so let's write down our data. So we fill in for P hat, which is 0.16667, right? Minus P, which is 0.12, minus 0.12. Now we take it over the square root of P times Q. So it would be 0.12 times 1 minus 0.12, as that is what Q is, all over 210. Now we're just going to type that into our calculator. So we are going to put 0.16667 minus 0.12. We're going to click enter there. That is going to be our number. We're going to save that for later. For right now, we're going to take the square root. So we're going to take the square root of 0.12, 1 minus 0.12, divided by 210. We get this number, but this number is not our answer. We have to go back to this number. So we take 0.04667 and we take it divided because this is what the square root was. So we take second answer, so we get the exact data. And that is what our answer should round off to. So it should be 2.08. Now with all this data, we have to find our p-value. And our p-value, to find that, we go to our one proportion z-test. We type in 0.12. Our x is going to be 35. N is going to be 210. And we use the greater than sign, as that is what it states in the alternative hypothesis. We figure that out, and we find out that p is equal to 0.019. And what we do with this is we figure it out for the test significance. So, let's see. So we can assume, since the problem does not give us a approximate test significance level, that we can assume that it is going to be 0.05. So what we are going to do is we are going to take 0.05 minus 0.19, and since 0.19 is less than 0.5, we can reject the null hypothesis. Reject the HO, as we'll call it. And now, with all this data, we go to write our conclusion. At a 5% significance level, we can reject the HO and conclude that the proportion of red cars in the entire Phillies parking lot is greater than our null hypothesis, which is 0.12. Now, how we figured this out is we did a test. We were able to reject the null hypothesis stating that the red cars on the road is 0.12. And this led us to say that people that go to Phillies games and support it will most likely drive red cars over people that normally just drive on the road. Okay, thank you. I hope you learned a lot.